how to deal with this situation. Like you are today, listening to the simple fact that when problems are there, it's an opportunity. You see, this takes an attitude shift. It takes maturity to understand that. It takes maturity to also to appreciate that problems are opportunities. So the shift, immediately when you really appreciate this fact that problems are opportunities, every problem you face with in your life is no longer a problem. Before there were problems, now it's an opportunity. I mean, you see the tremendous shift that happens in this one simple fact. To appreciate this, of course, you need a lot of inner maturity. Tremendous appreciation for the shift, and you find that your life has shifted just by this one fact, that you look at problems as a challenge, as an opportunity. And when you start dealing with problems in your life, you don't find it painful. You welcome it. And then you say, well, I'll deal with it because this challenge has been presented to me because I'm capable. The universe knows I'm capable of dealing with it, so I'll deal with it. I just have to find the right way. And in fact, not even a guru can tell you what the right way is. The guru points you to the right way. You have to do the work. The teacher can teach you 2 + 2 is 4, but unless you know how to add, there's no point. The teacher can say when you're 40 years old, 2 + 2 is 4, and you still don't get it. You know, at 40 years old, you should be not even thinking about 2 + 2. You should know it almost automatically. Okay. So the whole teaching is in that practice. So what happens in the end? The end result, according to the Vedas, now there's no proof of this, and this is why it's interesting. There are many things in the Vedas that cannot be proven. What can be proven is proven to be true, and this is a fascinating fact. There are many things, because they cannot be proven, we take it to be true. Why? We take it to be true because everything else that can be proven is proven to be true. So we look at astronomy, for instance, modern technology in terms of the movement of the planets, the speed of the planets. This is hard science. Okay, modern computers, modern telescopes. If you look at the measurement that modern astronomy has come up with, they validate what the Vedas have been talking about for 10,000 years ago. If you look at what they talk about in terms of health, modern medicine is still primitive compared to Ayurveda. Yeah. So you find that whatever you can prove with modern tools, it validates what we know, what the Vedas say. Because it validates everything that it has said so far, we can say by extension that it can be true. So one of the things that it says, that the pain, the whole point of suffering, human suffering, is not to punish anyone. The whole point of suffering is to grow. And finally, in the end, what we gain is the wisdom. Once we gain the wisdom of knowing we're one, that is what we call enlightenment, in the sense that you are enlightened, that you are God, or you are one with everything. And when you can see that, then you don't come back, you do not incarnate again. And the cycle of suffering ends. Yeah. So the greatest reward that there is by gaining this wisdom, you don't ever reincarnate again into a human form. You merge with the cosmic intelligence, you merge with the cosmic existence. And that merging is the greatest release, the greatest freedom. And that freedom is what we call moksha. The Sanskrit term moksha simply means that you know that you exist in this oneness, and that you exist with everything as one. If you know this, then as soon as you die, you no longer exist as an entity. You merge with the entire cosmic consciousness, and that is the greatest reward. So, because it is the greatest reward, it releases us from our past actions, criminal actions. For us all, I say this, that when we die right now, there are three things we take with us. One, we take our wisdom. We never lose the wisdom we've gained. In every grade, when you go from first grade to the second grade, you take your wisdom. When you go from primary school to secondary school, you take your wisdom. When you go from secondary to PhD, you take your wisdom. You don't go to PhD to learn 2 + 2 again. You have learned it in primary school. You deal with much more complex things in a PhD. So every lifetime, the only things you take with you is one, you take your wisdom, which is why we're presented with challenges, so that we gain that wisdom. That wisdom is not lost, it is taken. We carry it into our next life. That's one. Two, we take our good deeds. Good deeds is punya. Good actions. Things we do for society, things we do for the betterment of the world, things we do for animals, for the plant life. All those things that we do that are positive, we take with us. All the negative things we do, or the harmful things we do, that also we take with us. So, in order for people to come to this wisdom, they have had, as I say, we all, without any exception, have been criminals, rapists, murderers. We have done horrible things in our past. That is actually stored in our records. So that when we die, we take the wisdom, we take our good actions, and we take our bad actions. All of this gets accumulated into something what we call the Akashic records. So it's there. So every time we come back when we incarnate, we take a portion of the negative actions and we take a portion of our positive actions and we live. So if you have a really good life, if you have a great comfortable life today, it's because you are drawing upon your good actions. If you're experiencing negative things, it's you're drawing upon your negative actions. So when we actually gain this wisdom, all our criminal activities that we have done in many, many lifetimes, that gets wiped out. So we never have to come back to experience that. The good actions that we have done leads us to a place. For instance, this would be considered a very good place where, different reasons brought you all together here. Different reasons brought me here. But yet, we're here this morning talking about something that is incredibly valuable. Something that is so sacred. Why? Because of our good karmas, because of our good actions, because of our punya. We're sitting here today, this morning, to be able to hear something that was transmitted by the sages 15,000 years ago. Okay, based on what we know today, just what we hear today, it will begin to shift our lives. We can look at problems a little bit differently. We can monitor our actions, whether we do negative actions, because we know that every negative action will come back. We know that if we do positive things, all those positive things will come back. So, because these are the things we take with us. When we die, we don't take our fame or our name or our loved ones or our buildings or wealth. All of that we leave behind. This is a classic example of this house. The guy spent hours and hours, endless hours in creating what he created. In the end, he had to leave it behind. So you leave it behind. Well, what you take with us is an investment. Your good actions is an investment. Your negative actions is a disinvestment. So when we get to a point in our lives where we actually are able to sit with a teacher who can teach us to see that oneness, that is the greatest reward we can get. And so that's the end result of all these challenges that we face in life, is to get to that place where we first have to see the value in this wisdom, in this teaching. And secondly, we have to have the punya, the good karmas to sit to find the right teacher, because finding the right teacher is the hardest thing. And then we need more punya to understand it. So what I say, to give you an example, in order to want this wisdom, you need like $20 billion or euros. Why do I say 20 billion euros? Because 1 billion euro if you put 1 billion euros in a row, it takes you to the moon and back. So 20 trips to the moon and back is the amount of punya you need to appreciate this wisdom. Then you need 20 more to find the right teacher. Then you need 20 more to understand it. So you need a lot of investment to gain this wisdom. And then there's 20 more to assimilate. So it's not easy. And the very fact that we come to this place is because we have spent lifetimes. Many lifetimes, yeah, thousands and thousands of lifetimes of gaining good karma to be able to appreciate this teaching. So
it's like we get a tax return and some extra finance.
Exactly. Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, you keep going, exactly.
Can I add one question on that? Because since we're living in a debt-dominated world,
yeah, exactly.
The whole financial system works on debt and not on stored wealth. And savings are not important anymore. The question would be if you can also reverse this whole dialectics and say that if you have good intentions and they are focused on, for instance, you have the intentions to do something that's useful, would not that be something like a reversed karma, that basically you get credit from the universe? I mean, you don't deserve it, but the universe credits you with certain karma points to fulfill these good intentions. And that would be kind of the equivalent of the current bankster system.
Yeah, you can say that, but good intentions is good karma right away.
I mean, with intentions I don't mean some kind of fuzzy wishes to, I would like to do some good stuff if I get a lot of money, but that you have like a really plan and the focus, and you keep the focus and you put some emotion into this, so kind of like a magical invocation to manifest something. Isn't it that you can also get basically the energies of the universe to support you in this?
Yeah,
like
exactly. So that energy to support you.
Yeah.
Okay, and I would say this is a classic example. I mean, Sebastian came here, and how many people are looking for houses, and then when he was meant to have this house, then all the forces came together to make it happen. So when we say all those forces come together, it's actually punya in work.
Yeah. I mean, you have of course, the karma that you will get a nice house.
Yeah, exactly.
But then also if you have, you have to intentionally sometimes maybe kind of activate this karma.
Exactly. So what we say is that first of all, we need to have intention. Intention is more powerful than action.
Yeah.
Okay. Action is materialization of intention. So intention, what we intend, is more appropriate, more powerful, more karma in terms of positive and negative, because you can have a negative intention, you can have a positive intention. So when you have a positive intention, you get good karmas with that. But again, with that positive intention, if it is meant for you individually, for your specific case, based on your past life karmas and things like that, then you have the entire universe supporting you for that materialization. If you have a negative karma and you materialize that, then there's something that is a collective. For instance, Hitler had a negative karma. He had a negative intention. He thought it was a positive intention in his point of view. But then to organize an entire, 2 world wars based on that.
Who organized the 2 world wars? Hitler?
Exactly. Yeah. So,
sorry, I didn't get it. What was it, Hitler?
I mean, it was not just one person. I mean, in Hollywood is one person, but it's a very complex thing.
Yeah. So it's incredibly complex, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I brought this up. Is because there's the individual intention, but then there's also a collective intention.
Yeah, there was a mission.
Yeah. So, for instance, how can we predict Trump was going to win before the elections? Okay, how can we predict somebody's going to win? Is because there's a collective mindset. Yeah. So the Americans, there's a collective karma of Americans to elect Trump. Likewise, when Hitler came into power, there's a collective karma of Europe because everybody was.
I wanted to say, yeah.
So there is an intention that is based individually, but then there's also a collective intention for that people for that time. So when it is on the right track, when it is on the right path, then you have the entire universe supporting, and that is what we call punya if it is in the right case. If it is in the wrong case, then there's a collective karma that's helping it manifest for a reason, but there's always in the end a good reason. So we can say that because of Hitler, Europe came together. Before that, Europe was incredibly divided because you had all these kingdoms that did not even talk to each other. But because of Hitler, he united Europe. So today we have EU as a consequence of
Yeah, he
Hitler.
had a meaning or it was necessary.
Absolutely. So there's always a positive end in the
because
end
the positive and the negative keeps the world
around.
around, yes.
And problems.
Yes, problems
But
never.
also thanks to enlighten us that actually there are no problems and that there's very little to worry about as long as that we
Yeah,
bathe in those 10%.
exactly.
And so maybe my next question would be, because it's kind of like in business where you have this 20-80 rule, right? Where when you focus on the 20%, that will give you 80% of the results.
Yeah.
Now here we have a 10%, 90%, very similar situation. So what would be also the 80%, or the work within the 80% of the actions you would identify that would bring us faster, more efficiently to the 10%?
Mhm. Okay.
That would be a topic that would I find
Quite
very
interesting.
interesting. Yeah.
So how much time do we have? 9:30?
Yeah, it's
10:30.
10:30. We could do it in the next lecture.
So why don't we begin with this question and the next, and then I
Very
can
well.
develop it. But the short answer is that it's based on dharma. And I know you know what that means, is that we are given this prescription. It's not really a prescription because it's not a mandate, it's a recommendation. The Vedas are a recommendation, they are not a mandate, they are not sanctions. They suggest that we can do certain things or we should not do certain things, because if we do those things that is recommended, it gives us more punya. If we do things that are not recommended, it holds us back. So that's where, that's in a nutshell, but we can develop that further in the next class. Okay? Thank you for your attention.